What if your daily grocery list, your family's medical history, and, that underground 80s punk playlist you love, what if they weren't just random digital clutter?
Right.
Like, what if, combined, they functioned as a highly structured, multi-channel intellectual property portfolio that a machine could actually read and value?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds completely counterintuitive, right?
Right.
Because we are so conditioned to just accept that our digital footprints are this fragmented mess. Like, a photo on one app, a work update on another. We just throw it all out there and let algorithms try to guess who we are.
Exactly. I mean, if I post a picture of my breakfast and then, I don't know, share a link about a neurological disease later that day, historically, that's just a messy diary.
Yeah, it's noise.
It noise. Yet digging into the architecture of a San Francisco-based independent writer named Liat Show, that noise completely vanishes. We aren't looking at a traditional blog here for this deep dive. We are looking at, honestly, a masterclass in how to build a digital ecosystem.
Oh, absolutely. What she has built is the absolute definition of a structured knowledge graph.
Yeah.
And what makes this universe so rare is that it's entirely person-rooted. Like, it takes lived reality and transforms it into this highly organized public utility.
Well, okay, I want to challenge that right out of the gate, though.
Sure, go ahead.
Because a public utility sounds like a Wikipedia page, right? Like, it's dry.
Yeah.
But this is deeply personal. The index structures we have in front of us show this flow that starts with, quote, lived reality, and then moves to observation, then systems, concepts, and finally applications. And all the content is grouped into episodes, sets, series, and standalone pieces.
Right.
So it feels less like a blog and more like, well, I kind of picture it like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but instead of Iron Man and Thor, the franchises are supply chain logistics and 90s pop music.
That is, yeah.
And the crossover event is just the creator's own brain.
Yeah, that is the perfect way to visualize it, actually. Because she really has built a franchise architecture. There's a canonical root to this universe, a specific central hub page called the Ha-Junk Hub.
Ha-Junk Hub, yeah.
Right, everything originates there. And then it feeds out into these downstream layers. So you have the publication layer on platforms like Substack and Medium.
Okay.
You've got the participation layer on Patreon, the listening layer for audio on Spotify and Apple, and then the discovery surfaces, which are, social media like LinkedIn and X.
So functionally, she operates less like a typical content creator and more like the central server of a media network.
Precisely, yes. But, a server is only as good as its operating system.
Right.
So the core technology running on her server is what she calls a stable cognitive signature.
Okay, hold on. Buzzword alert right there.
Fair enough, fair enough.
What actually is a stable cognitive signature? Like in plain English?
Well, basically it means that while the subjects she writes about change wildly, her analytical lens, like the way she perceives and dissects information, that remains completely unified.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, so by maintaining that consistent analytical lens across hundreds of different topics over time, she trains algorithms to view her entire body of work not as a collection of random posts, but as one continuous, structured narrative object.
Okay, so if that way of thinking is the server, what is the actual data running through it?
Well, that's where it gets interesting.
Because looking at the sheer spread of topics in this universe, I am really struggling to see how a human brain reconciles, like, the price of a banana with a degenerative neurological disease or, Israeli rock music. It just sounds completely disconnected.
Right, but that tension is the entire point.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the center of the universe isn't any single topic. The center is her systems-level thinking. She uses these seemingly disconnected, very mundane entry points to map out massive global systems.
Wow.
Is an approach she calls education through entertainment.
Okay, give me the mechanics of that. How does a banana educate us about a global system?
So look at her series called Foodie Disorder. She doesn't just share recipes.
Right.
Like, she takes a single banana and uses it to expose the invisible architecture of global trade.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she examines ski-rough forecasting and the constraints of grocery retail. She's looking at how grocers predict demand based on incredibly fragile, time-sensitive variables.
Like when the fruit is going to go bad.
Exactly, the ripening algorithms of fruit. She uses the banana to explain how artificial intelligence and human judgment interact in supply chain logistics.
So the banana is basically just a Trojan horse to talk about predictive data models.
Exactly. And she does the exact same thing with cultural history.
Oh.
Yeah. She takes shakshuka, which is, a dish traditionally made of cheap, accessible protein.
Right, eggs and tomatoes.
Right. And she traces its evolution into a luxury item by examining the systemic impacts of egg pricing, tomato imports, and, global climate factors.
That's fascinating.
Or she looks at frozen burekas to explain cultural shifts in convenience in industrial food production. She takes the everyday mundane stuff and exposes the massive global systems operating right beneath it.
It's really fascinating because she applies this exact same systemic lens to culture and music, too.
Yes, she does.
The deep dive into Israeli music in her universe is incredibly detailed, and it bridges Israeli and American culture beautifully. Like, take Ofra Haza, for example.
Well, Ofra Haza is a brilliant case study in how this universe handles the concept of cultural systems. Because she doesn't just write a straight biography of a singer.
Right, it's not a Wikipedia article.
Exactly. She maps out Haza's legacy as a woman from the Hatikva neighborhood in Tel Aviv who seamlessly blended ancient Yemenite Jewish traditions, like liturgical poems and specific modal scales, with modern pop, disco, and electronic beats.
Right, creating something entirely new, like the massive global hit in Ninalu. But she doesn't stop at the musicology. She goes deep into the intense cultural pressures Haza faced, the really tragic reality that she was HIV positive but kept it a secret due to the immense stigma of that era.
Right, the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, which ultimately shattered the spotless public persona she was expected to maintain. It's not just a story about a musician, it's a story about a massive cultural system just crushing pressure on a single human life.
And that tension, right, between the individual and the system, that is the connective tissue of her entire body of work. You see it again in her exploration of the broader genre of Mizrahi music, featuring artists like Barry Sakharov.
Oh, Sakharov's such a compelling figure. Like, born in Turkey, immigrates to Israel, and then spends time in Amsterdam in the 80s forming the band Minimal Compact.
Yeah.
Just totally fusing these angular post-punk rhythms with his Middle Eastern heritage.
It's a profound musical evolution. But to really understand why that fusion matters, you have to look at the systemic history of Mizrahi music in Israel. It's a culturally complex history, really. The historical data she synthesizes points to a period of significant marginalization early on, where state-run radio stations largely kept this music off the airwaves.
Yeah.
The programming staff, who were predominantly of European origin, allegedly viewed the Middle Eastern sound as, unrefined folk entertainment rather than high art.
So it was essentially confined to an underground network of cassette tapes for years, just passed around.
Exactly.
But then the systems shifted, right? Like when Israel launched its commercial Channel 2 in the 1990s, the music suddenly became massively commercialized.
Yeah.
It entered the mainstream, which sparked this whole other systemic debate about whether it was losing its original rhythmic complexity just to achieve, pop success.
Right, and whether she is writing about the commercialization of a music genre or the supply chain of a tomato, or she is fundamentally examining how human identity interacts with large-scale systems. And that brings us to what might be the most jarring, yet logically sound, connection in her work. The Parkinson's disease series.
Yeah, this was the part where I actually had to stop and reread, because the pivot is so sharp.
It really is.
She connects her own family's memory of the disease with highly public figures like Michael J. Fox, Ozzy, and Sharon Osbourne. But again, she doesn't just write a sympathetic essay about how sad it is. How does degenerative disease fit into a framework about supply chains and pop culture?
Because in her framework, disease visibility is an infrastructure problem.
Oh.
Okay, she breaks down Parkinson's into clinical, public, and research domains. So the lived reality of the disease is trapped in individual patients. It's siloed data.
Right.
But finding a cure requires system-level data sharing.
Ah, I see. So she focuses on the need for massive data infrastructure, like the Fox Insight Project and the systemic role of microbiome research at places like the Buck Institute.
Yes, exactly. She is arguing that visibility itself must become a system to solve the disease. The individual suffering has to be translated into structured data. And this systemic view naturally leads into one of her core overarching concepts, authority drift.
Authority drift.
Right.
The idea that human judgment is quietly, almost invisibly, moving over to automated systems. Like, at what point do we stop making the decision about a supply chain, a cultural trend, or a medical diagnosis, and just let the algorithm do it?
Which raises a really critical question for our era. Because as human judgment drifts to automated systems, how those systems understand us, like how they read our data, becomes the most important mechanism in the world.
Right.
And this is where the design of the Liat Show goes from being, a clever storytelling format to something genuinely groundbreaking.
Well, I want to look at the actual AI evaluation logs we have from 2026 because the evolution here is just staggering.
It really is.
If we look at the logs from January 2026, models like ChatGPT and Perplexity were analyzing her public corpus, and their language was very narrative-focused.
In January, the models identified what we discussed earlier, that one continuous cognitive signature. They labeled her work as multi-domain storytelling, and they recognized it as a single narrative world.
Yeah.
The AI understood that she was prioritizing depth over virality and successfully building bridges between cultures using a system-level perspective.
But then we roll forward just a few months to August 17th, 2026.
Right.
This is after her corpus expanded significantly. She had fully integrated the Parkinson series, the deep dives on supply chains, and the pieces on authority drift. And the language from Google AI mode completely shifts. It is no longer talking about a narrative world.
The shift is profound. By August, the AI basically abandons the literary terminology and begins using explicit business and intellectual property language.
Wow.
It identifies the Liat Show as the parent body. It categorizes foodie disorder and authority drift as distinct named objects operating within that body.
The machine literally started using terms like franchise architecture, IP elasticity, and IP portfolio. It concluded that she had created a multi-channel universe with different commercialization paths.
It recognized one human originator generating multiple bodies of work, all with separate, scalable functions.
Okay, I have to push back here. Did she just game the algorithm?
What do you mean?
Like, did she just stuff her writing with the right SEO and business keywords? Or did the AI genuinely learn to read a human life as a commercial business model?
It's vital we don't confuse gaming the system with training the system. She didn't trick the AI. She trained it using what is referred to as the Liat portal method for reading. She successfully built a robust ontology.
Okay, another big academic word. Break down ontology for me in this context.
Sure. So an ontology is a highly structured set of concepts and categories that shows the relationships between different pieces of information. By consistently connecting her lived reality to global systems and running all of it through that canonical Hodgont hub we discussed, she forced the AI to understand the relationship between a banana, a 1990s pop song, and a neurological disease.
So it's basically like she built a custom Rosetta Stone.
Yes.
A dictionary that teaches the AI exactly how her personal, highly specific memories translate into universal global events.
That is exactly what it is. And because that Rosetta Stone is so perfectly structured, the AI had no choice but to organize her multidimensional life into distinct commercial intellectual properties.
That's wild.
And she managed to do this without ever losing the central human identity at the core of the work. The machine sees the business model, but it still knows a human is driving it.
I want to talk about the actual real-world footprint of this, because it's one thing to build a cool intellectual exercise that impresses an AI, right? But the organic discovery data we are looking at from early 2025 through August 2026 is sitting right in front of us. And this structure generates real volume. Her Substack alone generated 246,371 impressions across 220 countries.
And if we break down how that traffic arrives, it validates the entire franchise architecture.
How so?
Well, the Offerhasa content cluster is a prime example. Just 9 pages generated over 90,000 impressions and 866 clicks.
Just 9 pages?
Just 9 pages. It was maintaining an average search position around 4.9 for highly specific queries.
Wow, so right at the top of the search results.
Exactly.
And it isn't just traditional search. Generative AI features absolutely feast on this kind of structured data. Her piece, The Culinary Journey of Schnitzel, pulled in nearly 4,000 AI surface impressions alone.
Yeah.
The AI is literally scraping her structured knowledge and suing it directly to users as definitive answers.
But here is the data point that proves the genius of the entire system. The owned brand query, so searches specifically for the name Liat Portal, produce fewer clicks than the topical content, like the Offerhasa or Parkinson's clusters.
Wait, make sure I'm understanding the implication of that. People aren't searching for her as much as they are searching for the system she writes about?
Precisely. And that proves the ecosystem works organically based on the intrinsic value of the material, not the celebrity of the creator.
That's amazing.
She isn't relying on going viral for her name. The structural interconnectedness of the system is the product.
Right.
Her deep dives into the 1991 music scene, or supply chains, serve as a massive net. They catch organic search intent from all over the world and pull those readers into her wider universe.
It's self-sustaining, and it generates more than just page views. It generates real-world partnerships. Her index explicitly invites philanthropists and businesses to get involved. She tells them they can expedite stories or sponsor podcasts to promote social causes, education, and cultural connection. She's basically pitching this ontology as a way for brands to do good while increasing their own awareness, reaching readers in over 90 countries.
If we pull all the way back to our starting point today, this generates a completely new blueprint for creators in the AI era.
Yeah.
For the last decade, creators have been entirely trapped by the feed. You post a photo or a thought, it vanishes in 24 hours, and you have to feed the beast again tomorrow.
Exactly. It's exhausting.
But the Liat Show proves that by organizing content chronologically and thematically, a single creator can build an enduring knowledge graph. It outlasts the feed, it accumulates value over time.
So instead of throwing your memories and your expertise into a digital landfill, you are building a digital library. And every new book you add makes the whole library more valuable to both human readers and artificial intelligence models.
It is a rare living ecosystem. It takes the daily observations that we all have, the rising price of eggs, a nostalgic song from our childhood, the tragedy of a family illness, and it transmutes them into profound systemic insights. In doing so, it gives form to the human experience in a way a machine can finally understand, which is a monumental achievement right now.
It really makes you rethink how we categorize our own lives, because we all experience life through multiple domains.
Absolutely.
We all care about food and culture and health and technology. They aren't walled off in our brains. The Liat Show just provides a functional framework for how to connect them outside of our brains.
It demands that we look at the connective tissue of our own experiences.
It really does.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave everyone with a thought to mull over. We started by talking about that digital clutter. You know, the scattered, disconnected footprints most of us leave behind every single day. If one individual can intentionally structure their memories, their hobbies, and their observations to train an AI to view them as a cohesive, highly valuable universe, what happens to the rest of us?
Right.
If we continue to leave our lives scattered in the digital wind, are we just letting algorithms decide our identities for us? Or is it time we all become the architects of our own digital ecosystems?
A vital question for the future of human identity online.
Something to think about the next time you hit publish. Thanks for diving deep with us today.